This here is Veronica, living so peacefully among the green Austrian pastures. But life takes many turns, and it turns out that she has become a true celebrity. We are not exaggerating. She's on the cover of one of the most prestigious magazines in the world in the field of biology. All the newspapers talk about her, and she even stars in advertising campaigns. But what is all the fuss about? Well, a team of scientists has confirmed something that until now seemed hard to believe. Veronica knows how to use tools, and as we will see below, she is not alone in her attempt to imitate Inspector Gadget. Then, an inevitable and even somewhat uncomfortable question arises. What if all this time we have been underestimating the capacity that the animals around us have to understand and process the world? In this video, we had no choice but to rethink all of this. So come on, let's begin. Let's introduce our protagonist as she deserves. Veronica is a 13-year-old Alpine brown cow who lives in the most rural Austria. Upon turning 4 years old and after separating from her mother, her owners noticed something curious. Little by little, Vero was developing a new ability. The thing is that she began to pick up branches with her mouth to scratch herself, and over the years, she kept improving her technique. Okay, here we are going to get a bit skeptical because at first glance, we only see a cow with a stick. It doesn't seem like something to go crazy about, right? But this reached the ears of scientists from the University of Vienna, and their job was precisely that, to analyze whether behind that gesture, something much deeper was hidden. To test it, they designed a very simple experiment, to give Veronica a broom. And of course, since Vero is a crack, she not only held the broom perfectly with her mouth, she also fitted it between her teeth to have a stable grip and more precise control. It may seem silly, but think about it carefully. A broom is an asymmetrical object. On one side, you have the smooth handle, and on the other, a head full of stiff bristles. And here comes the most amazing part. She used this object in different ways depending on her objective. She used the bristle head side for areas where her skin is thicker and tougher, such as her back. But when it came to more delicate areas, such as the udders or the folds of the belly, she turned the broom and used the end of the handle. But not only that, she was capable of applying different techniques and adjustments in her grip. With the bristles, she made strong and broad movements, while with the handle, she was more precise and careful. That is to say, Veronica not only used the broom, but she was also employing it in different ways according to her need at each moment, or in other words, turning it into a multi-purpose tool. And this is relevant because until now it had only been documented in chimpanzees. Here we have to stop for a moment because we have to explain what it exactly means for an animal to use a tool. For us, it is obvious if you use a hammer, you are using a tool, but in the case of animals, there are behaviors that are not entirely clear, and, well, it depends a bit on the definition you use. So there are different scientific definitions that have been changing over time, becoming increasingly demanding. For example, some of the requirements that are important for this video are the following. The first is that it must be an extra. The tool has to be an external object that the animal borrows from the environment to expand its capabilities. It is not valid to use its claws, beak, or teeth, since that is part of its standard equipment, so to speak. It cannot be an accident either. That is, the animal must have deliberate control over the object to reach its purpose. And obviously, its use has to be repetitive over time. And it is not enough just to move it. The action must seek to change something in the environment, something that has to change immediately. This rules out, for example, when a bird builds its nest. However, when Vero uses the brush, she performs an action to obtain something in return at that moment, and for this, she is capable of manipulating it. She holds it, moves it, and orients it, because the use of the object must have a clear objective. It can be, for example, modifying shape, like when a shell is broken, or changing position, like when a stick is used to reach a distant fruit. There are more and more examples documented by scientists of animals that use tools, so we are going to show you some of them. But first we have to mention a pioneering figure such as Jane Goodall. And it is that in the 60s, her observations in Tanzania turned the scientific world upside down by documenting the use of tools in chimpanzees that were in the wild. Since then, we have seen many primates using them, such as this chimpanzee that has designed a complex tool by selecting and modifying branches with the sole purpose of fishing for termites. But there are also very curious cases of animals that are not primates, such as this study from the Berlin Zoo starring elephants. There lives Mary, an expert in personalized showers. She uses the hose to wash her entire body, adapting the technique according to the area, and even coordinating her legs so that the stream reaches the most difficult points. But while Mary relaxes, Anchali is dedicated to sabotage. Here we see her performing calculated maneuvers to interrupt the flow of water, while the other one showers. Although her exact intentions are a mystery, researchers suspect that it is something totally deliberate and that she basically does it to annoy. And it is that they realize that these acts used to occur just after Mary behaved aggressively with her. Coincidence or not? What do you think? It has also been documented that some orcas manufacture tools from kelp, a type of large algae. It is believed that they use them for mutual grooming, using them to exfoliate their skin and that of their companions. And a small group of bottlenose dolphins in Australia also use sponges as protection to obtain fish without hurting their faces while they search for them on the seabed. Changing the subject, it is most likely that Veronica is not a super intelligent cow. However, she enjoys a lifestyle that is not at all usual for her species. Her owners treat her as if she were their pet. This has allowed two important things. The first is that she has lived many years and with a higher quality of life. And by quality of life, we mean that Vero lives in a much more stimulating and varied environment than a cow locked in an industrial farm, and this encourages interaction and constant learning. All of this raises a reflection that is uncomfortable. What if the fact of not being treated as simple livestock is precisely what has allowed her to manifest, or even develop a capacity that otherwise would have remained hidden? Perhaps the time has come to look at farm animals in a different way. We should ask ourselves if until now it has not simply been more convenient for us to assume that, in reality, they are much less intelligent than reality dictates. And here we say goodbye today, friends. What do you think about this topic? We read you in the comments, and in the description we leave you videos about animals that will surely be very interesting to you.